Prague, September 1912. A 29-year-old clerk sits down at 10 at night and doesn't get up until 6 in the morning. In one unbroken sitting, he writes a story called The Judgment, start to finish, 8 hours without stopping. The room is dark except for a lamp, and the first light of morning begins to touch the window. He writes in his diary that this is how writing must be done. Everything opening up, the complete opening of body and soul. Then the sun comes up and he gets dressed for work. He walks to the Workers' Accident Insurance Institute and spends the day assessing injury claims from factories in Bohemia. He would live another 11.5 years, but he would never get that night back. Kafka knew exactly what was taking those nights from him. He wrote about the office as a horror, a bondage, and a thing cursing him, yet he kept the job anyway. There is a comforting story about day jobs. The steady salary is a patron, constraint is fuel, and the real work can be built quietly on the side. Sometimes that is true. Kafka is what it looks like when it isn't. The parallel path billed him in 3 ways: the job that was too good to leave, the sleep spent on a second life, and the deferral of real living until later. A bad job is easy to quit. A good one can close around you because every individual year seems obviously worth staying for, while the sum of those years becomes your life. Kafka produced some of the most important writing of the 20th century. He also asked at the end for nearly all of it to be burned. The popular image of Kafka is wrong in a way that matters. He was not a downtrodden nobody drowning in meaningless paperwork. He held a law doctorate and worked at the Workers' Accident Insurance Institute for the Kingdom of Bohemia, a semi-state institution. He was good at the job and rose steadily. He wrote technical reports on industrial safety that were clear and genuinely intelligent. His work included machine guarding, designed to prevent factory workers from losing fingers in industrial equipment. He was valued and promoted. His hours were also humane for the era, with a single shift ending in the early afternoon. On paper, this was the writer's dream job: paid, respectable, and finished by 2 o'clock. So why did Kafka describe it in the language of damnation? Because of what it did to the part of the day that remained. He came home depleted, not simply from labor, but from spending his best alertness on claims and statutes. Then came family life, meals, obligations, and a crowded apartment. By the time the flat went quiet, it was late at night. The job was good enough that leaving it was indefensible. Kafka had status, a pension, security, and his family's approval, but no rational argument for abandoning all of it to write stories almost nobody was reading. He repeatedly made plans to escape and repeatedly found the escape unjustifiable. That is the mechanism. Terrible jobs get quit, but good jobs make every delay seem reasonable. Kafka's writing happened at night, not by preference, but by residue. It was what remained after the office, family, dinner, and the noise of a shared apartment. He would start around 10 or 11 and continue until 1, 2, or 3 in the morning. Then he slept for a few hours and returned to work. That meant every page had a physiological price, paid the next day and the day after, compounding for years. Unlike a walk that uses otherwise dead time, Kafka's work spent sleep. That is one reason so much of his work remained unfinished. The Trial, The Castle, and America were all incomplete and were published after his death against his instructions. This was not laziness or a lack of talent. It was what happened when the raw material of the work was a resource that regenerated on a schedule he could not control. His diaries record exhaustion, headaches, insomnia, and the feeling that he was being ruined. He seriously considered leaving, negotiated leaves of absence, and kept coming back. Kafka also believed that writing required a solitude the double life made impossible. He broke off an engagement twice with the same woman, partly because he believed marriage and writing could not coexist in him. The job took his hours, and defending what remained for writing took the rest of his life. He kept the security and paid for it in the other 2. In August 1917, at 34, Kafka woke during the night, coughing blood. The diagnosis was tuberculosis. In 1917, tuberculosis was effectively a sentence. There was no cure, only rest, altitude, and time. Overwork did not cause the infection, but Kafka experienced the illness as a verdict. He described the illness as something his mind and body had agreed on, as if years of strain had finally taken physical form. However medicine explains it, he experienced it as the bill arriving. The illness accomplished what years of plans and resolutions could not. It got him out of the office, first through sick leave and then through a pension in 1922. By then he was dying, with roughly 2 years left, and much of that time too ill to work well. He received freedom, but it arrived with almost no body left to spend it. Kafka died in a sanatorium in June 1924 at 40 years old. He had already instructed Max Brod to burn the novels, diaries, and letters. Brod did not obey. That is the only reason Kafka's name and unfinished work are known today. The first move is to audit a job by what it leaves, not only by what it takes. Kafka's hours were fine, but the job consumed the fresh, undivided attention his writing required. The second move is never to let the second life run on sleep. Sleep is not slack in the schedule, it is the substrate the mind is made of, and borrowing against it compounds. If a project only exists between 11 and 2, it is not a sustainable arrangement but a countdown. Move the work into the day, shorten the week, protect a weekday, or shrink the project until it fits somewhere that is not your recovery. The third move is to set the exit condition in advance and in writing. Choose a date, a savings number, a milestone, or a specific signal that decides for you before a good job turns every delay into another rational choice. But there is an uncomfortable possibility. The job may not have been only an obstacle. It may also have been a hiding place from full commitment, marriage, and the risk of discovering what he could do without a fallback. The office was a respectable reason not to bet everything, and Kafka could complain about it forever while it protected him from testing the alternative. When freedom finally came, he was too ill to run the counterfactual. There is another version of the parallel path. Wallace Stevens walked 2 miles to an insurance office for 40 years, and that arrangement bought him everything, while Kafka's office cost him what he had. The job was not the variable. What it was protecting was, ask yourself plainly, is this arrangement funding your real work, or is it giving you permission not to do it? The tell is whether you would feel relief or terror if the job vanished tomorrow. If you are spending your sleep to buy your ambition, understand what Kafka's diaries record. Not a man being stolen from by an employer, but a man paying nightly installments on a debt his body eventually called in at 40. If this reframed how you think about success, subscribe. There is much more history with an edge to come.